Hello and welcome to another episode of Peteman Reviews. Today we have the Generation 1 Autobot Brawn. Now Brawn is a mini-bot, so these are the range of cheaper Transformers, and so they're both smaller in size, old mode and robot mode, and also somewhat more easier to transform. That said, as we can see from the original release of Brawn here, it's still pretty detailed for being a mini-bot. So as you can see, he's got the stylised M, which I think was something from Micro Man, I want to say. Certainly it relates back not so much to the Transformer line, but to the line that preceded it. However, they kept the styling on there, so I guess that's how the tooling had worked. Spare wheel, wheels that move. All in all, given that this is, say, the cheaper end of Transformers, a pretty detailed figure. I guess a lot of that comes because the tooling had already been paid for, so Hasbro didn't have to do any extra tooling. They could just take the existing mould and reuse it. Whereas the later mini-bots you see, for example, like Wheelie, were less detailed because they had to make the mould from scratch, so there was more production cost involved. In terms of transformation, it's relatively simple. That said, it's a little bit fiddly, so just bear with me. So these fall down to become the legs. As you can see, the underside of the robot is as it is. There's no articulation with the head. Indeed, the head is just a bit of plastic that's moulded onto it. That's not uncommon at all for these kind of guys. And when you think about it, most of the heads were just moulded plastic. Now for the arms. The arms are contained in the sides here, which is where it's a little sometimes tricky to move out. You have to pull this out, as you can see, and that's the arm there, and then you have to move it around so that you can get the arm out. So it comes with that, I guess, the door as well, but you can move the arm so it's separate from the door as well. And then this side you just have to kind of, the reason it's a bit fiddly is because the leg kind of gets in the way from where you want to turn it. So you fiddle that out, rotate that up, and sometimes, particularly on this side of the toy, the arm's a little bit fiddly to move round. Indeed, this one's been very fiddly to move round. Kind of don't want to move it too hard for fear of damaging it. And I don't know if that's a production flaw or if it's a flaw with this particular robot, but as you can see, the arm here is particularly fiddly to move. Do you know what? I'm going to leave it there so that I don't want to damage it, but you get the idea. It doesn't quite bend enough to take out. So that is Brawn. He's a little bit difficult to stand because he hasn't really got any feet. He's kind of got a little bit of plastic, but he doesn't have any purpose-built feet. I'm going to zoom in on there. Now, I know the G1 UK comics did accurately predict the toy version of Brawn. The cartoons certainly didn't, and neither did the G1 US comics particularly. In terms of figures, it's not too bad. Extremely lanky. The legs are disproportionately large for the rest of him, and very spindly as well, which makes him very difficult and top heavy. Doesn't come with any weapons. That's not uncommon for this kind of character at all. Then we compare him to Legends Brawn. To zoom in a bit there, as you can see the relative comparison. Legends obviously is a considerably newer, more detailed range, but they've kept the broad elements of Brawn there. Legends one is obviously the better toy of the two, just because of the fact it's far more stable, far more, I guess, manoeuvrable, far more rotational, but the two actually look pretty similar. And classic Brawn in Legends Brawn are very, you see the heads in particular, chest, they retain the elements to it. I wouldn't be too disappointed with, say, having the original Brawn based on what you can see there. And then we compare him with Smokescreen. Now bear in mind that Smokescreen and Brawn came out at the same time. For a mini-bot, he's actually quite tall, probably a little bit too tall, which is what makes him a little bit unstable and a little difficult to pose. Whereas you consider someone like Bumblebee or Cliffjumper, which I know are the same mould, they're a lot shorter. Again, both suffer from the same issues around posability, but bearing in mind these were the cheap range of Transformers. Let's face it, these were the ones that most of us could afford from the cheap range, and actually that's not bad at all really. It's got some pretty decent transformation, in common with a lot of the Wave 1 Transformers, indeed the Wave 2 Transformers for that matter. The alt mode, so the kind of outback vehicle, is far better than the robot mode. But it's alright, isn't it? Would you rather Pim or Wheelie? I think we'd go for Brawn, wouldn't we? So there we are, that is Generation 1 Brawn. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave any other comments below, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Goodbye.